code tutorial for Nocode HQ, and today we'll be building a restaurant review app similar to Tripadvisor, where users can look at different restaurants, look at different categories, and give their reviews for a restaurant. So you have to create an account of Adalo to do that, and after you create an account and click on create a new app, you will be shown this pop-up. So let's start off by going through the steps. I'm going to choose a native mobile app. You could choose one of the templates, but we're going to choose the blank template. Let's go next. You can give your app a name. I'm going to call it Restaurant Review. And also choose the colors. I'm going to go with something like maybe dark blue. Yeah, and let's click Create. So you'll be brought into the Adalo app editor, and you're always presented with the three starting screens, which is the sign up, the login, and the home screen. And if a user isn't signed up or logged in, he'll be brought to this screen. And if he is logged in, he will always be brought to this screen. He can log out by clicking this button, and then he'll be brought back to this screen. So before we start editing and designing our app, let's actually go to our database and start creating our collections, which are basically our data types. So as you can see, we already have our user data type, which has a full name, username, password, and email, and so on. We, of course, want to add another collection, which is going to be a restaurant. So there will be restaurants within our app. Let's click Add. And we already have the name property, which is always automatically added. But let's add a few other properties. So a restaurant should maybe have a description. Okay. It should also have an image. So an image here. We're gonna call it image as well. Maybe it should have a location, which is text as well, or an address. Let's click Save. So I have a name, description, image, address. And yeah, I think that's it. Let's add another collection, and this is going to be a review. Okay, let's add that. And a review is just going to consist of we're going to call that not name but title, and another property which is a text as well, which is going to be content. And let's also have another field which is going to be basically, do you recommend this restaurant, true or false? And this is we're just going to call that recommend question mark. Let's click Save. Okay, great. At last, I want to add another collection, which is going to be a category. So we're going to have basically some categories of restaurants. So let's add a category collection, and the category will just have a name and an image as well. So let's call that image. Great. So that's it regarding our collections. But now let's actually connect our individual collections to each other with relations. So let's start off with users, basically. So a user can create, basically a user can upload or create his own restaurant, which will be displayed. So let's add a property, which is a relationship to a restaurant, okay? And a restaurant can only have one user, but a user can have multiple restaurants. So if you want to add multiple restaurants, you can do that. So let's select this selection. Let's click Done. So let's click Save. Under restaurant, we should have, okay, the user relationship, so that worked as well. We also want to have reviews. So let's add another property. Relationship reviews. So a review can only have one user, so a review belongs to a single user. However, a user can give multiple reviews. So it's again the same relationship. Let's click Done, and let's save that. Under review, we should have the user relationship, correct. A review should also belong to a restaurant. So let's add another relationship to a restaurant, and again, a restaurant can have multiple reviews, but one review belongs to one restaurant. That's the relation we want to choose. So let's click Done. Again, let's click Save. Under restaurant, we have that relationship as well, the reviews. And at last, we just want to add the category of a restaurant. So let's add another property, a relationship category. So a category can have multiple restaurants, but a restaurant belongs to one category. So let's click Done and Save. Awesome. So that's it regarding our data structure. I'm now going to add a few records just so we have some data within our app. So just bear with me a second. I'm just going to add some placeholder data, and you can just add data by clicking on the collection, clicking here and just showing View Edit Records and just adding some data. So give me a few minutes. I'm going to add some information. Okay, so I've added a few placeholder data. So basically I added a user, I added one restaurant, and I added 2 categories. And now we should be good to go and start editing our app. So let's start off by adding a component. And what we want to do, we want to add navigation and we want to add a tab bar. So just drag that onto the home page. And as you can see, we have 5 tabs automatically generated. And in our case, I want to have a restaurants tab. I want to have a categories tab, and profile tab, and maybe also a reviews tab. Actually, the reviews can be within the profile. So actually, we just need 3 tabs. So we can make the 4th tab and the 5th tab inactive. Okay. The first tab we're gonna call restaurants. Okay. Maybe this can be restaurants icon. The second tab is gonna be maybe categories. So let's search for a list, maybe like this. Okay. And it's gonna say categories. And our third tab is gonna be profile. So we're gonna search for maybe like a user. This is great. Okay. This is gonna be profile. Okay, great. So we have our icons already ready. And let's actually add a few screens now. So this is going to be our restaurant screen. We also want to add a category screen. So let's add a component. Let's add a screen. And let's actually use a template. So maybe let's use a list. And I want to use maybe an image list. Let's use that. So I'm going to select that. I'm going to call that categories create screen. Okay, so that's created. Let's add the profile screen. So this could be, let's actually choose a blank screen. I'm going to call that profile. Okay, let's create that. Let's copy that tab bar here. So I'm just going to copy that, paste that, drag that here. And again, let's remove this button. We don't need that. And let's also copy this app bar and just drag that here. Okay, great. So what we have to do, we have to make some changes. So first of all, we want to define what happens if an individual tab is clicked. So for example, if the second tab is clicked on press, we want to link to our categories page without any transition. Okay. Same for the third tab. We want to link to our profile page without any transition. For the second tab, or for the second screen here, we want to make the second tab the active tab. So under tab bar, the active tab is the second tab. And I'm going to do the same thing as before. So link to home. And when the third tab is clicked, again, link to profile without any transition. And at last, the third tab bar, we want to have the third tab as the active bar. And when the first tab is clicked, we want to go to home. And when the second tab is clicked, we want to link to categories. Okay, great. So let's go ahead now and start editing our homepage. So first of all, I want to change the title. Actually, I want to call it restaurants, or maybe all restaurants. Okay, and let's actually add a list to that. So we can add search for a component, and we can use a list. And maybe let's choose a simple list. So I'm just going to drag that on top of here. Okay, and like this. Let's on top. And this list is a list of restaurants, and just search for all restaurants within our database. We don't want any filter or any. We can use a sorting. So maybe the newest restaurant should be shown first. The title should be the restaurant name. So this is a variable. The subtitle could be maybe the address, and the left section should be an image and should be the current restaurant's image. So that's correct. Great. We can also maybe add a search bar. So let's go to forms and fields. Let's just add a text input, put it on top here. And this should say search for restaurant. And we can just say, okay, we want to have a filter, or actually let's remove that. I think it's better without that. So let's just remove that. So we have a list of all restaurants now, so that looks great. Now let's actually add another screen, which is going to be the detailed restaurant view. So I'm going to add another screen. We can use a template again. So it's going to be info. Maybe it could be here the info button, the info screen. Just add that. We're going to call that restaurant. Okay, let's create that screen. And let's define, okay, when one of these items is clicked, so on press, we want to link to our restaurant page. So this page is shown here, restaurant. And as we link this page to this page, we now have access basically to the current page restaurant. So we can, for example, say the title of this page, of this screen shouldn't be restaurant, it should be whatever the current restaurant's name is. This image should be the current restaurant's image. We can maybe remove all this text here. This could be the current restaurant's description. Okay, let's add another text. Drag that here. Let's say this is the description. Like this. Edit the style, make that a bit dark, grayish like this. It's nicer. Let's also have the address maybe. I'm gonna copy this, drag that below this. And the address is gonna be a variable. It's gonna be the current restaurant's address. Okay. And I actually also wanna move this button. And I want to add a list of reviews. So let me just copy this text again. And I'm going to say reviews, okay? And we're going to add a list here too. So let's add another list again. Maybe again a simple list. Or let's search for lists. Yeah, I think a simple list is the best. Let's drag that on top of here, okay? Let's just give the app some space, okay? That's great. And I'm going to put that up again a bit. And this reviews here, let's make that a bit smaller. This is going to be a list of reviews, and basically the filter is going to be, it's going to be the current restaurant's reviews, okay? And the title is going to be the review title, and the subtitle could be maybe the, actually the name of the user that made the review, so the full name of the user. In the left section, we don't need a left section. Okay, great. So that's done already. Let's now add the review page, so where the detailed review is shown. So again, I'm going to add a screen. I'm going to choose, again, an info screen, maybe a bit a simpler one. Let's take a look. Actually, I'm going to just add a blank screen. I think that's easier. So this is going to be called review, create screen. And let's copy this add bar. I'm going to put that here. Let's call this review. Let's leave that blank. We want to link from when a user clicks on an individual review to be shown the full view of this review. So on press, we want to link to the review screen. Now we should have access to the review. So under title, we can choose maybe the current review's title. Okay. We can add a text now and say the title maybe. Just copy that, and this is going to be the current review's title. We're also going to have the content, okay, and this is going to be the current review's content. Great. So if we go under database again, we have our review here with title, content, recommend. Actually, I'm going to remove the recommend. I think title and content is going to be enough. So let's remove that. Okay, and let's also have another field which is going to be review by user, and this is just going to then display the user that made the review, so the current review's username. Okay, great. So that's it regarding the detailed view of the reviews. So let's go back now. And under categories, we want to modify this. So let's remove this text and maybe change the app bar title. So let's say the text should be browse by category. Okay. This image list should just be a list of categories, and it should say, show all categories. The title should be the category name, correct? And we don't need an icon, and the image should be the current category's image. So that's correct. Let's add another screen, and this screen is again going to be a list. Let's use a simple list, and it's going to be restaurant in category. Okay, let's create that screen. Let's remove that here. And this screen basically should just show all restaurants within the category. So if a user clicks on, let's say, the Italian category on this screen, he will be brought to this screen, and the list should only display categories within, restaurants within this category. So let's link that off first. Let's choose this list here. Let's say on press, we want to link to the restaurant in category page. Okay. Now we should have access to the data again. So under title, we can use a variable. We can say restaurants, or let's say we can say the current category's name restaurants. So for example, Italian restaurants, Greek restaurants, American restaurants, and so on. And the list is going to be, again, very simple. It's going to be a list of restaurants. In this case, we're going to have a filter, and it's going to be the current category's restaurants. Okay, so only all the restaurants within this category. We're going to change the structure again. The title is going to be restaurant name. Subtitle can be the restaurant description as before, the address as before, and the left section should be an image and should be the current restaurant's image. If a user now clicks on a restaurant here, the same thing should happen as here. The user should be brought to the restaurant detailed page. So basically, on press, the user we should link the user to the restaurant screen. Okay, so at last, we just have to modify our profile page. So let's do this by maybe adding, let's add a shape. So under simple, we can add a rectangle like this, and maybe this can just be, let's have a white background, but let's have a shadow. Shadow, that looks nice. So we have, let's remove that actually. I'm going to add a form. So under form, you can add the form here. Let's put it inside here. And we can say which data collections should be user, and what do you want the form to do? Update the logged in user. So basically, Adalo recognize everything. We can update the current user. So the email can be modified, the password, the username, and the full name. So the user can update his profile. But let's also actually add the ability to create new restaurants and also to see reviews for your restaurant. So I'm going to make the screen a bit bigger. So under screens, let's choose the profile screen again. I'm going to drag this down a bit. So we have some space, okay? Or actually, when I think about it, I think it's better to separate this into different screens because it's going to be too crowded. So again, let me make that a bit smaller again. I'm going to actually delete this. I'm going to add a few text now. So first of all, I'm going to add a text which is going to say, this text is going to say maybe hello. It's going to say logged in user's username like this. And let's center that as well. Okay. Put that here. And let's add a button maybe. So the button is going to be going to say, let's remove the icon. It's going to be edit profile. Okay. Let's create a new screen. Actually, this screen is going to be a form this time. It's going to be edit profile. Let's create that screen. And this is going to be really simple. It's just going to be the same as before again. It's going to be of user and should update log in user. Okay. And let's change the title here. Update your profile, and let's just add the functionality. So when a user clicks on edit profile on press, we should link to our edit profile screen. Okay. Let's also add another text. So under text, I'm just going to drag that here. Let's make that a bit grayish. Okay. And it's going to be 14. And this text is going to say my restaurants. Okay. And this is just going to be a list of all the restaurants that the user uploaded. So let's just copy this list here, put that here. And the only thing we want to change is the filter should be the logged in users restaurants. Okay, so that's already it. And again, it should link to the restaurant page. And let's also add another feature. So basically, we want to have a button. Let's add a button, action button. Let's drag that here. Great. And this button should allow users to add new restaurants. So and again, we need another screen, so add a screen, and this should be a form screen again. Let's call it add or create restaurant, create screen. This form is going to be of restaurant type, and we want to create a new restaurant. The field's going to be the name, description, image, so it already recognizes all of it. The address, we have that correct. Description could be multi-line, so we have more space to enter it. Actually, we have to make this bigger, so under create restaurant, let's drag that screen down so we have more space. Okay, so the fields we have, image, and as you can see, Adalo automatically recognized, okay, set automatically the user of this new restaurant should be the logged in user. And for the category, we want to actually add a drop down, so let's add a visible field, which is going to be category, and this is going to be a drop down, so users can choose the category of this new restaurant they want to add. Okay, and that's basically it. We can just leave it as it is, and let's actually add a link. So if we go back to our add button here on press, we want to link to our create restaurant screen, maybe as a modal this time. Okay, great. So the last thing I want to do, I want to actually, even though I changed multiple times, I want to make this a bit bigger because I want to add some more information. Let's put the tab bar down again. I want to have my restaurants, copy this text, put it here, and let's add the information reviews for my restaurant. Okay. And this should basically display all the reviews that were given for the restaurants you created or uploaded. So I'm going to just copy the listings, the reviews list here. So just copy that, paste that here. Let's drag that button actually down. Okay. And this should just be the logged in users restaurants reviews. Okay. So a list of all the reviews for the current user's restaurant. Okay. And we also, of course, want to have, so again, I have to make the screen bigger. We want to have the reviews that you gave as a user. So as a user, you can, of course, upload restaurants, but you can also give reviews, and we want to separate these into different lists. So let's also have it, have the title, reviews I gave, like this. And again, I'm just going to copy this. And this is just going to be the logged in users reviews. So the difference between these two is, as you can see, this list is going to show the reviews of the logged in user, and this is going to show the reviews of the restaurants that the logged in user owns. Okay, and that should be it if I haven't missed anything. Let's actually test this out now. So if everything worked out fine, this should work. So let's click on preview. I'm going to change to iPhone XS Max. Okay, so we're good with the sign up page. So the user could sign up now, but I created an account already. So I'm going to go to already have an account, enter my email, and enter a password. So let's click login. Okay, so we're in our application now, basically. And as you can see, we're on the restaurants tab menu, basically. It says all restaurants. And our list is already populated because we have our first restaurant here displayed, and it's called the Best Italian, and that's the location. And the image is still loading. The internet is quite bad right now, and the image is big, but that works already quite nicely. That was the restaurant I created in the collection. So let's go to categories now. And under categories, again, we have our two categories, the ones I created, the placeholder categories. We have our American and our Italian categories. So let's go to profile now. Great, so under profile it says Hello Noel, which is our username or my username. The button edit profile, we have our button to create a new restaurant, and the text my restaurants. And under my restaurants, I have the one restaurant I added already and which is also created by me. So that works also great. So let's start off again at restaurants, and let's click at this restaurant, the Best Italian. And we are brought to the detailed view, which is basically the image is here, the description, and the address, and so on. And we have the list of reviews. However, there's one thing I recognize now. We actually forgot one important thing. We forgot the ability to create new reviews. So let's quickly add that actually. That's going to be under restaurant detail view. So here, we want to add a button. So let's add a button. This is going to be really simple. So let's add a button here. Let's drag that here. And this button is going to allow us to create a new review. So let's create a new screen again. It's going to be a form, create review. Let's create that screen. And the form is going to be of data review. We want to create a new review. The fields are going to be title, content. The content should be of multi-line. The user should be the logged in user. And for the restaurant, let's actually link these. So if this is clicked, we want to link to the create review page as a modal again. And on the create review page, we now should have the restaurant, which should be the current restaurant. Let's click done. And the submit button, great. And it should link back when it is clicked. So let's go back again to preview. That should work now. So I'm back in our editor now, in our preview to test the app. So let's go back where we left off. So on the restaurant, our detailed view, we have our button now where we can create a new review. So let's actually do that. Let's create a new review. Okay, create a new review. The title should be great food. The content should be, I went there with my family and everything was delicious. Let's create a review. Okay. And awesome. As you can see, the restaurant, The Best Italian, already has its first review, which is great food, made by the user, which is me, Noel. So we can now click on that review, and we're shown the detailed view. So great food, the title was great food, the content, I went there with my family and everything was delicious, review by user, Noel. Awesome, that works. So let's click back now. We can click back again. Let's test the category tab. So under categories, as again, we have the American Italian. Let's click on the Italian here, and as you should see, we have our restaurant here. Okay, The Best Italian. Again, we can click on it, and it's the same thing basically. We have in this case only the restaurants within this category. Again, a small thing I noticed, we don't have our back button here, so let's actually add that too. So under the restaurant in category tab, let's add a left icon, and the left icon should link us back. So that's correct. Let's preview again. So I'm going to go back to categories again and test the same thing again. So Italian, and we can go back now this time. So that works fine. If we go to American, there should not be any restaurant because I haven't created an American restaurant yet. So let's go back. At last, let's go to profile. And under profile, as you can see, we have some more information now. We have my restaurant, the one I created already. And we already have the first review for my restaurant, which was the great food review, which I just made. And the thing is, in this case, I gave a review for my own restaurant, so both reviews are shown here. But yeah, it works quite nicely. Let's also edit our profile. Let's click the button, and we're shown our update your profile page. Small spelling mistake here, but we can change our information here. So username to change that, update user, and so on. Great. And yeah, awesome. So let's actually add a new restaurant. Let's click the add button here. So it says create new restaurants. Let's say that's the American Diner. It's good burgers, fries, and milkshakes. Let's upload a photo. I'm just going to choose this photo, even though it doesn't make sense. Let's say the address is whatever, New York. And our category is a drop-down which searches for the categories within our database. Currently, we only have American Italian. I'm going to choose American. Let's create this restaurant, okay? Awesome. So we have our second restaurant created. So basically, we have American Diner and The Best Restaurant. Coincidentally, I chose the same image, which is not that great, but okay. And if we go back to restaurants now, we have two restaurants here. Under categories, if we go to the American category, we should have our first restaurant here. Great, American Diner. Let's click on that. We have good burgers, fries, and milkshakes. The address, 0 reviews until now. Let's add a new review. And this review is going to be just this here. Great, let's create that review, go back, and we should have our first review here. Awesome. And if we go to profile again, as I'm both the creator and the reviewer, both reviews are shown here. So reviews from my restaurant, these two, and reviews I gave, also these two. And yeah, that's basically it. So functionality-wise, that's our application. Everything works nicely. You could, of course, now go ahead and modify the UI a lot. There's a lot of things you can make better and improve, but overall, our application works quite nicely. All the basically collection relationships work nicely, and we have our own restaurant directory where users can create their own restaurants, give reviews, browse through categories, and so on. I hope you learned something today in this tutorial, and I'm going to see you guys for the next tutorial with Nocode HQ. Bye.